Somebody once told me that if I can run a half marathon, then I can run anything above a marathon. Their reason being that long distance running is as much of a mental challenge as it is a physical one. Now, I'm not saying don't train, so let's not be raw dogging ultra marathons, okay? But what I am saying is that there could be more to long distance running than just putting in the miles. And while I'm not the most experienced runner in the room, I have learned so much over the last year and a half that has improved my mental toughness, and it's made me a better runner. I think as well, as a slower runner, that mental toughness is even more important because you're on your feet for so much longer than faster runners. So for me, it's like a critical part of running. Running is very much a physical challenge, but there's also other factors involved, like how you stay sane on these longer runs. So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that you can make longer running not as daunting on the old brain. And truth be told, I also have a 24-kilometer long run to do. So 2 birds, 1 stone, let's go. And now I feel like I'm very much stating the obvious here, but the best way to get your head around running longer distances is just practice. Now, I'm on my second big training block of the year. I obviously did my marathon earlier this year. This time around when I'm training for my ultra, it's a similar training plan. Obviously, the distances are a bit longer. The premise is the same. I'm running really fucking far. And because I've done it before and pretty recently as well, these distances now seem a lot less emotionally draining than the first time round. I think because the first time round, those distances were just so out of my comfort zone. They felt crazy to be doing. I felt like, how am I running these distances? This is just mad. So overall, obviously these distances are still hard and they're still far and they're challenging, but they're not as hard as they were earlier this year. But it obviously takes time to work up towards these distances. So what can you do in the meantime? I'm going to tell you. Let's go for a run. I'm going to put you in my pocket nice and safe. Oh, he smells so good.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats.
So we all know about girl math. Let me introduce you to something called long run math. And this has been the biggest lifesaver for me, probably ever. And it's really simple. It's basically where you split your longer runs into a few smaller runs. So for example, if I'm running a half marathon, maybe I'll break it down into 2 10Ks and then 1 kilometer. The point of this is that you break it down into smaller chunks of very doable distances in your mind. So everybody's breakdowns of their runs is going to be different depending on how experienced they are, how much they enjoy running long distance, things like that. And then the way that you would use that going into the run is like, never think about the full distance. So never think, like last week when I did 38k, I didn't once think, right, I've got to run 38k, and I didn't count down then from 38 after every kilometre, because that would just fuck you up, to be quite honest. But instead, what you want to do is think about the distance you are currently running. Think about that 5k, 10k, whatever it is, and just think about completing that and treat it as its own mini race, I guess. This one isn't going to be for everyone, but I personally love this one, and it is the I'll get there when I get there. I'll get there when I get there is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically like, if there's ever a time when I'm running where I feel like I'm really struggling and I'm not hitting my paces and it's just all starting to get a bit shit, to be honest, I will just think, okay, scrap pace, I'll get there when I get there. And I feel like this just gives you like a new sense of freedom within the run to enjoy it. Gives you the chance to say, okay, pace, I see you, and you know what? Fuck you. Not today. And I think way more people would benefit from this approach. I think people get so caught up in not hitting certain paces that you forget that you don't have to hit a certain pace if you don't want, and if it's more comfortable to do so. I think as well, it also means that you're focusing on what your body needs to get through it rather than do it within a certain time. So you're focusing more on like, do I need water? Do I need to maybe eat? Am I just really fatigued? Do I need to slow down? Do I need to run, walk? Do I need to just stop 10 minutes, which is also fine. I think you'll find as well that when you focus more on that, you might actually perform better than you initially thought that you would, just because the pressure's off, you can relax into it a bit more. So yeah, give it a go. Another huge thing about long distance running is making sure that we are entertained throughout the run, especially if you're running alone. You don't have anyone to talk to, you don't have anyone to share your pain with, which is me at the minute. I'm solo training for my ultramarathon, so all of my runs are on my own, which is new to me because a lot of my marathon training I did with someone else. But luckily, we have technology at our fingertips and we need to take advantage of it. You may notice in a lot of my videos, I have my headphones in. For me, using podcasts, audiobooks, a really good album or playlist is such a huge part of my training. I'll put on the screen some pictures of my favourite podcasts and audiobook songs and playlists to listen to, just if you need any inspiration. One thing that I do, and I would encourage you to do the same, is don't start off your long run with your headphones in. Use it when you really need it. So for example, like I normally, if I'm going on a run that's like above 15k, I probably won't put my headphones in for the first 5 to 10k. And then when I start to get a bit of bored of my own thoughts, then it's time, I'll pop my headphones in. And I think saving it to you when you really need it just makes you appreciate it so much more. And you've already then done a really good chunk of the run. Really use it to your advantage, but don't go out listening to something. Just because I feel like when it does get really hard, like what do you have up your sleeve to make it easier and to make it more enjoyable? But yeah, find something that you're really looking forward to. Like maybe there's a specific podcast episode that you're like a podcast that you listen to every week. Save your episode for your long run. And those are my tips to make long running a lot more bearable. I really hope that those were helpful and they were different and just to give you something to try and experiment with. If there's anything that I missed, let me know in the comments, because it's always good to have an extra little thing up your sleeve, when it just gets a little bit too hard. I also love, if you didn't see my last video, I am loving the crisp controversy that's going on in those comments. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to comment, like, and give me a little subscribe. If this is the first video that you've seen of mine, I probably should have done this at the beginning of the video, but hello, my name is Emily. I make videos about being a slow runner and just accepting it and trying to enjoy running and not taking it too seriously. So if that's the kind of things that you like, then you can either subscribe here or you could follow me over on Instagram. I post a lot more over there, stories and behind the scenes and crap like that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!